Welcome to the press conference today. I will first introduce the officials on stage. First, we have Secretary for Home and Youth Affairs, Ms. Alice Mack, Ms. Shirley Lam, Permanent Secretary for Home and Youth Affairs, Mr. Clarence Leung, Under Secretary for Home and Youth Affairs, and Mr. Wallace Lau, Deputy Secretary for Home and Youth Affairs. Firstly, the Secretary will let us know about the blueprint today, then we will take questions. Secretary, please. Good afternoon. Today, the HYAB is announcing the Youth Development Blueprint. In his important speech on the 1st of July and his report to the 20th National Congress, President Xi emphasized that a nation will prosper only when its young people strive, and young people are the future of Hong Kong. Hong Kong will develop only when its young people achieve well-rounded development, and Hong Kong will have a bright future only when its young people have good career prospects. In his policy address, the CE has announced the formulation of the first Youth Development Blueprint. This is the first Youth Development Blueprint. It will set the tone for the development. It will also set the direction, quantity, and speed for the upcoming youth work. The blueprint points out the environment and challenges that young people face, and we will describe the government's mission, vision, and policies on future youth development. There are over 160 concrete action plans and initiatives to support young people. We want to inspire our young people, support them, and embrace young people from different backgrounds. So we think that our youth work must be long-term and consistent and not fragmentized. Our Bureau will coordinate with other government departments to implement the initiatives stated in the blueprint. There is no fixed definition for the term youth. In the blueprint, we will define this word flexibly. To put it simply, young people refers to people aged between 12 and 39. So people below the age of 40 and people who have just entered secondary school to working youth. We will fully take care of young people of different ages and at different stages of their life. We can see in this slide, in the blueprint, we have consolidated some data which reflect the situation of young people's education, employment, housing, and social participation. In July, since the establishment of the HYAB, together with the Youth Development Commission, we have organized over 170 consultation sessions. We have received about 200 written comments. We have heard from young people and different sectors of our society, and we have consolidated their wisdom in the formulation of this blueprint. In the future, we hope to understand our young people. Just like what you saw in the last slide, there are lots of different data relating to young people. In our blueprint, we will compile a youth dashboard to consolidate data related to youth development. This data can allow different sectors of the community to understand about the youth development trends, and when various government departments are formulating policies, they can easily get a grasp of youth-related data. In the blueprint, we have reviewed challenges faced by our young people. For example, how to cultivate a sense of the nation with international perspective, the stress that they face in education, employment, family, and interpersonal relationship, and how to gain upward mobility. Even though they are faced with different challenges, but our young people have a strong foundation. Here, their strengths are listed. They are fluent in biliteracy and trilingualism. They have a sense of the rule of law, and they have international perspective. So what we are going to do in the blueprint is to provide the appropriate soil for our young people to develop in, so that they can fulfill their potential and become builders of our society.
The government has a long history of youth work, and our predecessors have been engaged in youth development. Regarding this youth development blueprint, this is the first blueprint relating to youth development in Hong Kong. It sets out the vision, the measures and actions for youth work in the future. Drawing on experience, we believe time is right for us to consider how to make youth work more systematic and universal, and that youth work should be more targeted and diversified. More importantly, we should make sure that the youth work is inclusive and fair. Vision. Our vision is to nurture a new generation of young people with an affection for the country in Hong Kong and equipped with global perspectives and aspiring mindsets and positive thinking. And in order to do that, we should provide an enabling environment for young people to cherish a hope for the future and strive for continuous growth so that they can unleash their potential and contribute to Hong Kong, our country, and the world. Looking ahead, we will work along these 6 directions. First, we'll lead from the top and build strength. By that, we mean we'll strengthen the Youth Development Commission chaired by the Chief Secretary for Administration and establish the post of Commissioner for Youth to enhance centralized planning and coordination of youth work to foster cross-bureau and cross-sector collaboration. Second, we'll pass on the spirit of loving our country in Hong Kong and strengthening the sense of national identity. We'll enhance young people's sense of recognition and belonging to the country in Hong Kong and deepen their understanding of and respect for the Constitution and the basic law. We'll also draw up different measures for young people at different stages of their development to provide them with more opportunities. We'll keep abreast of the pulse, preferences and habits of young people nowadays to enhance effectiveness. We'll also promote whole person development. In other words, apart from academic and career development, we should also help them cultivate a rational mindset, develop positive values so that they may equip themselves to embrace the challenges. We'll also enhance the sense of themselves being masters of their own for them to contribute to society. Finally, we'll keep abreast of the times. The blueprint will respond to the needs of young people in a timely manner. So this is just the beginning. It is an important beginning in terms of our youth development work, and the blueprint will be updated to keep abreast with the evolving needs and the times. In light of the different stages of development of our young people, we are going to roll out 160 specific measures in the blueprint. They will come under 4 chapters, namely exploration, hope, empowerment, and contribution. Exploration, it's a period of transitioning from childhood to adolescence, and through exploration they can give play to their potential and cultivate correct values. And knowing about our country is the first step, and will guide our young people to develop a sense of the nation, help them learn about our country's history, the Constitution, basic laws, so as to enhance a sense of national identity. We will also tell good stories of China and Hong Kong through more innovative means and ways that strikes a chord with young people. Education is a key stage of a young person's life. We provide quality education with multiple pathways to encourage young people to explore their own interests and aspirations so as to equip themselves for the future. We'll enhance life planning so that young people will have more opportunities to learn and experience different industries, including emerging industries, with a view to helping them explore future development directions. On life planning, I just want to point out in particular that we conducted over 170 consultation sessions. And for young people, especially those still at school who will be graduating soon, they've told us that they'd like to see an enhanced effort in life planning, coordination. They are very concerned about their future prospects and how they should plan for their lives ahead. So this will be something that we work on. We are going to enhance coordination of cross-sectoral activities on life learning. Next slide. On the chapter on hope after leaving school, young people embark on a new journey in life. We hope to allow them to excel their strengths and realize their dreams. So that's the chapter on hope. Now, young people are provided with broad development space under the country's 14th Five-Year Plan, the Greater Bay Area Development Plan, and the Belt and Road Initiative. Will help young people capitalize on Hong Kong's advantage in having mainland as a backing and being connected with the world, so as to help them integrate into the country's development plan. Under the 14th Five-Year Plan, 8 centers should be established in Hong Kong, so we'll increase young people's internship, employment, and entrepreneurial opportunities in the relevant areas. We'll also provide opportunities for young people who intend to join other industries. We understand that young people aspire to have their own space. So we will relaunch the Starter Homes project for Hong Kong residents and enhance the youth hostel scheme. Of course, in response to the housing needs of young people, we need to make an effort, but we should not confine ourselves to the housing needs of young people in particular. There is a general prevailing demand for housing in Hong Kong. So other policy bureaus should also chip in to resolve the general housing issue in Hong Kong. And meanwhile, we will roll out measures for young people to have a home to call their own. In other words, we're going to enhance the youth hostel scheme as a supporting measure so that they can have their own space meanwhile. Next, we should promote whole person development and help them meet future challenges and handle stress at different stages of life, and that's a chapter on empowerment. We will enhance the youth welfare services under the Social Welfare Department. We'll support different activities and services, for example, the annual Youth Festival, so as to provide more opportunities for young people to give play to their potential and help them develop positive thinking, encourage them to build resilience. And we'll also subsidize more positive thinking and adventure training activities and encourage young people to develop a diversity of interests in arts, culture, and sports. We'll also guide young people to develop a correct understanding of their relationships and their responsibilities towards their family, society, Hong Kong, and our country, so that they can tell right from wrong. We'll continue to enhance our youth mental health work, in particular, early identification and support for youths in need. And we'll also support non-Chinese speaking youths so that they can integrate into society. Here, I'd like to stress that in the consultation process, we also had the opportunity to talk to youths of different backgrounds. And for non-Chinese speaking youths, they've told us that there are limited life planning activities that suited them. So in the future, we will enhance support for non-Chinese speaking youths, especially in this regard. The last chapter is contribution. We support young people to be architects of our society. So we will provide more channels for young people to participate in public policy discussion and community building. For example, we'll widen the scope of the member self-recommendation scheme for youth in terms of the number of members to be appointed and the number of committees. We'll also establish 2 new committees. That is a district-based youth committee as well as a District Youth Development and Civic Education Committee. You will find the committees in each of the 18 districts, and some seats will be available for young members appointed under the Member Self-Recommendation Scheme for Youth. Many young people would like to offer their input, especially at the community level in the areas where they live. So we are going to make available more places in these two committees for young people to participate in them. We're also going to establish a platform. The purpose is to provide a focal point for them to participate in different activities and community services on a continuous basis. We have also set out in a blueprint, as you can see, before the epidemic, for activities, exchange sessions, internship opportunities subsidized by the HYAB. Some 70,000 participants were recorded each year. However, we should not stop at just allowing young people to participate in the activities. That is why we're going to establish a youth network so that we can allow these participants to come together. The youth network will provide further training and internship opportunities for them, and also to provide more information. Through building this network, we hope that eventually a young talent pool can be established for Hong Kong, so that on this platform, through this portal, young people can continue to gather and thrive. And some young people mentioned in the exchange sessions that they don't understand the work of the government. So we should use more innovative means to communicate with them. Now, this is a response to the young people's suggestions and comments as we received in the consultation process. We're going to develop a youth-oriented mobile app as a one-stop information portal so that information related to young people can be disseminated. Government policies and activities organized by the government can also be published via the app for their benefit. This is a platform for young people, and we also hope to increase interactions with them through this app. With our country's support, let me just give a commercial here. We've just kickstarted a new round of subsidy. We're going to subsidize university students to work as volunteer interns in UN organizations. We have started receiving applications. Previously, the scheme was suspended for 2 years because of COVID. Now, with the country's support, we have relaunched this scheme so that young people can contribute to the world, and we will be able to promote youth voluntary services. We will continue to enhance our efforts in promoting youth voluntary services and expand the scope of the scheme. In terms of implementation mechanism, we are going to enhance the Youth Development Commission as the commission that oversees different bureaus and policy areas. The post of Youth Commissioner will also be established. He will act as the coordinator. We'll also formulate the youth dashboard. As I mentioned just now, we will consolidate youth-related data and information for public access on our website. We'll also ensure that this remains a live document. There are evolving needs that change with the times. This is the first edition of the blueprint. And the blueprint maps out a different strategy. Comparing to the youth work conducted by the government before, we should avoid the fragmented approach. And that is why we're going to establish a youth network so that we stay connected in the long term with our young people. Meanwhile, we understand that for youth-related initiatives, there are over 160 of them in this blueprint, and yet times are changing, and because of the evolving needs, there is a need to regularly update these initiatives. So there is a need to update this blueprint on a regular basis, and the HYAB will continue to follow up on the implementation of initiatives and regularly report to the Legislative Council. We hope that we will work hand in hand with our young people so that we can build a better Hong Kong in the future. In order to successfully implement this blueprint, the government cannot work on its own. We must mobilize the community for its support so that we join hands in taking forward youth development work, so that we take a targeted approach and work on a continuous basis and avoid taking a fragmented approach in youth development. That concludes my presentation. I welcome questions and comments. Please raise your hand and use the microphone provided by our staff, and please introduce the media outlet you represent, and please limit yourselves to 2 questions. This reporter here. Good afternoon. I'm in media. Do you think that the blueprint will be able to convince Hong Kong young people who took part in the anti-extradition movement to stay in Hong Kong? Do you think the blueprint will be able to attract those who have gone abroad to come back? And also, 2 youth committees will be set up comprising youth members only. Why aren't you inviting more young members to sit on the existing district committees, such as district fight crime committees instead? We want to allow young people to find hope in this blueprint, and as well as future development opportunities. Through this blueprint, we want to equip our young people with the necessary skills for them to undertake development in Hong Kong in the future. In the chapter on exploration, we tell young people about future opportunities, and then in the subsequent chapters, such as hope and empowerment, we tell them about the specific measures so that they can grasp the opportunities. In terms of publicity, as we have stressed a number of times in this blueprint, we want to equip our young people with a global perspective. And as I just mentioned, we also have a scheme that allow our young people to be to do volunteering work abroad. So that is why this blueprint is not about Hong Kong, but it's also about going global. And we tell good stories of China and Hong Kong. About the 2 committees, these are the 2 newly established committees, especially the Youth Community Contribution Committees. In the consultation process, we've understood that many young people would like to chip in and help build their own communities. Apart from appointing young members, there will also be available places for young people to nominate themselves under the member self-recommendation scheme for youth, for them to participate in community building as well. I'm from Ming Pao. 2 questions. First, about expenditure. What is the estimated expenditure for the initiatives covered in the blueprint? This is a 3-year blueprint. Does it mean that a review will be conducted 3 years down the road? Now, many young people took part in the 2019 anti-extradition incident, but the blueprint is silent on measures to reconciliate with or reconcile with the young people. Is it that these views have been ignored? Secretary, in your consultation process, did you talk to young people who participated in the movement? First, about expenditure. Perhaps I'll defer to Wallace to take the question. About expenditure, the blueprint contains initiatives and measures which come under different policy bureaus. So you will find the different expenditure items under the provision for different bureaus. Well, of course, for the enhanced youth hostel scheme covering hotels and guest houses, an additional injection of $1 billion funding will be provided. So we're unable to give you the exact figure regarding the initiatives in the blueprint. Safe to say that we have sufficient resources for the specific initiatives and measures. About when the blueprint will be updated, depending on what the needs are, the Commissioner for Youth will be established, and this post holder will see if targets set out in the blueprint have been met and whether there is a need to enhance other areas. So this blueprint will be updated on the recommendation of the Youth Commissioner. About our relationship with the young people, this blueprint is for every young person in Hong Kong, regardless of their background. We hope that this blueprint will be beneficial to each and every young person in Hong Kong in their different stages of development. So in formulating the blueprint, we bear in mind the guiding principles, especially inclusiveness and fairness. By introducing these initiatives and measures, we hope that every young person will have an opportunity in taking part in them.
Thank you. Some English questions from this. First, we want to ask about the blueprint itself. So in the Youth Development Blueprint, it makes little mention of the social movements in 2014 and also 2019. And the blueprint itself mentions that some of the challenges faced by young people's national identity, but likewise doesn't address these issues that have been brought up by the protests. So does the blueprint just aim to reinforce the concepts of loving the country and patriotism, but does not actually aim to reconcile the relationship with the young people that this report supposedly aims to target? And also some questions about these starter homes that have been mentioned in the report itself. Would the Bureau be able to say, is there more information on the starter home scheme, and also how many units is the Bureau planning to provide, and what are the costs or plans associated? Thank you.
This is the first youth development blueprint of the Hong Kong SAR. And inside the blueprint, we have an overview of the youth various policies relating to youth matters. And we are doing something to coordinate the every policies and measures relating to youth development. Our target of this blueprint is every young person in Hong Kong. So we're trying to make well use of this blueprint to let the young people understand and know what the government is trying to do to help them, to support them. And as we have mentioned in the blueprint, we have several objectives. We want to nurture patriotic young people. We want to broaden their mind so that they understand they have a global perspective. We want to equip them to face every challenges during the growth period, and we want to equip them with with all the potentials to cope with the challenges and opportunities of Hong Kong's future development. And about the starter homes scheme, I understand that the Development Bureau is considering and to looking for suitable sites to develop the starter home scheme. And in fact, according to past figures, over 80% of the applicants of the starter home scheme are aged below 40. So we believe that with the reintroduction of the starter home scheme, we can help the young people to have their own homes.
I'm from Hong Kong 01 regarding youth dashboard. So you said that you will gather information on issues that you young people are concerned about. So what kind of issues will you gather? Will it overlap with the existing platform? and what is the expenditure involved in this dashboard. Also, for support for arrested persons from the anti-extradition bill movement, the Correctional Services Department has a scheme to assist these young people. Does the HYAB has any similar scheme to assist these young people? Just as the Secretary said that each young people deserves opportunities for development. So do they have a place in this blueprint? Firstly, on the dashboard, there are some examples in Appendix 3. So we would like to consolidate data on trends for youth development. The next question on expenditure. In the past, before I joined the government, this is a question that I would ask. Now I understand why officials did not give a concrete figure. Because now, if I'm telling you what the expenditure will be on the dashboard, then in the future when we are liaising with the developer, this will affect the cost. This is about making good use of our resources. So at this point, I cannot give you an exact figure. I'm sure you understand when we are looking for a suitable developer, then they may make reference to the figure that I mentioned today. As for young people who have committed offenses, just then I have said it. Our blueprint is for every young person in Hong Kong. We stress that it should be inclusive and fair. As long as that young person fulfills the criteria that we set out, then they can join our schemes or our activities. We want to provide fair opportunities for these young people or even people from different ethnic backgrounds or other backgrounds. We want to provide them with fair opportunities to participate in our policies and our initiatives. I think this is one of the emphasis of this blueprint. In the formulation of the blueprint and in the consultation process, we have met young people from different backgrounds, of different ethnicities, and people with different beliefs. We want to make sure that these young people all have a fair chance to participate in these policies. It doesn't matter if they have committed an offense before or if they are from an ethnic minority background. We want to provide them with fair opportunities. Next, I'm from the Guangdong station. I can see that you encourage young people to seek opportunities in the Greater Bay Area. And it is mentioned that Hong Kong has the position of 8 centers. How is the HYAB going to assist young people to find a direction in this regard? Second, is there any quantitative results that you can share with us regarding youth development in the Greater Bay Area? I've talked about this before. There are a few chapters here, exploration, hope, etc. We want to let our young people know where the opportunities are. The 8 centers positioning and the relevant development opportunities that they provide. We want to help our young people to seize these opportunities. And there are different internship and exchange programs in the Greater Bay Area for them to get a better understanding. So we are creating diversified opportunities for our young people to let them know where the opportunities are. They can seek opportunities in many places, and I think that this is important. In the future, when the epidemic stabilizes, we hope to organize more exchange and internship programs. and we want to establish an entrepreneurial and innovative basis. We want to kickstart that program as soon as possible. We hope to see diverse development for our young people. There are many local internship programs. They can go to the international community to do voluntary work, and they can develop in the Greater Bay Area. There are different types of opportunities so that young people can find one that is suitable for them. I think that is important. Next, please. Now TV. On relaunching of the starter homes project, how many units are we talking about? So both measures have been rolled out before. Are there any new housing initiatives for young people? Second, many young people were reluctant to join the member self-recommendation scheme. Is there any other measures to attract their participation?
I understand the Development Bureau will identify suitable sites and details will be announced about the starter home project for Hong Kong residents. As I said just now, we have a housing shortage in Hong Kong. It's not just a youth-related problem. We need to cater for the needs of Hong Kong people in general. However, we can't just sit on our hands and wait for housing production to speed up. So meanwhile, we should devise measures to help young people have a space of their own. That is why we have the youth hostel scheme. In the first phase of the scheme, NGOs will build the hostel and provide rooms for rent for young people. And as you know, the Legislative Council just passed a funding application so that NGOs can now rent hostels, hotels and guest houses to run as youth hostels. And on new sites, in new projects, space will also be earmarked for use as youth hostels. Now, this is a piece of good news. As we're formulating the Youth Development Blueprint with the enhanced youth hostel scheme, some NGOs told us that more sites would be made available for more hostels to be provided. So that's on top of the existing scheme. Through various measures, meanwhile, we seek to allow young people to have a roof over their head and a home to call their own. I just want to emphasize that youth hostel scheme is not just a measure to tackle the housing shortage for young people. More importantly, we want to provide a community for young people who live together so that they can participate in the activities and services provided by the NGOs. And that if young people stay there for a few years, they will be able to broaden their horizons and know more about the development opportunities, and that they can equip themselves to face future challenges.
From TMHK. So because you said that you've hosted so many consultation sessions with the public, especially the young people, could you tell us any of the measures were formulated after consulting the young people? Because quite a few have been mentioned in the policy address, like the reintroduction of the Starters Home program. And my second question is about the Commissioner for Youth. Could you explain the rationale of designating such a position? Because theoretically, the whole bureau is responsible for youth affairs. Thank you.
During the various consultation sessions, we understand from the young people that they want us to use a more up-to-date channel to keep in contact with them. And that's why we have this idea of introduction of a new mobile app. We hope by using this mobile app, we can deliver the timely information to our young people, and so that they will have a more they can understand more about government's policies and various proposals or programs. For the Commission of Youth, this is a very important measure of carrying out our youth measures and policies, because we have a designated person to focus and to be responsible for youth development work in the government. And the commissioner is responsible to liaise with various bureaus and departments and to coordinate and to ensure that the measures in the blueprint is actualized and realized. And the commissioner will also advise the government and the bureau on whether any new measures should be introduced to help our youth. So the designation of the Commissioner for Youth is a milestone of implementing the measures, various measures of our youth development blueprint.
Next. I'm from Economic Journal about housing. There is a suggestion that young buyers should be exempt from paying stamp duty under the project. Now, will this suggestion be considered? Will this be a feasible measure in helping young people buy their own home? Next question about the youth dashboard. I understand that this youth dashboard is established to provide data on matters relating to youth so that the government can better tap the pulse of young people. Now, how will data be collected? Will questionnaire surveys be distributed, or rather will you consider the comments posted on online bulletin boards such as the Hong Kong Golden website? We've considered the views of different young people, but as I said just now, we have over 160 initiatives in the policy, in the blueprint, but we will not just stop at that. We'll continue to devise initiatives and measures to help address the needs of young people. That's why I said this blueprint will be updated to keep up with the times, and if need be, new measures will be rolled out. As for the youth dashboard, we understand that at present, data comes from the Census and Statistics Department and other policy bureaus. Our first step is to consolidate the data so that if we want to retrieve data relating to young people, there is an easy solution, and this will also help other policy bureaus in their policy formulation, so that if they have a clear gauge of the trend, they will be able to formulate timely measures. And depending on the needs, we will enrich the content of the youth dashboard. And that's why the youth commissioner is very important. The post holder will be tasked to consolidating data from various sources. And if need be, new content will be provided. I'm from TVB. Now, how effective do you think these initiatives in the blueprint will be in reaching out to young people who are currently quite resentful about the government? And about these initiatives, which do you think are the innovative ones? Because some say that these are all, there is no surprise in this blueprint. As I said a number of times, this blueprint is the first blueprint of the SAR government relating to youth development. In a holistic manner, we're able to take stock of all the initiatives of the government in relation to youth development, and we're also going to create this post of youth commissioner. This coordinator will help us understand better the work of the government on youth development. We held over 178 consultation sessions, and most of the time we heard about young people not knowing anything about the government. They don't know what the government is doing. They are ignorant about the plans and measures of the government. They don't know anything about youth-related measures rolled out by the government. So our job is to make sure young people understand the government's effort so that we can enhance communication and for young people to understand the government's work better. Now, you should know, after reporters have repeatedly asked the questions about the blueprint, that we do have some new measures. For example, we're going to establish the youth network so as to allow young participants of government-organized or subsidized activities to get together. We're also going to develop a mobile app which is youth-oriented. We will also build a youth dashboard to better tap the development and the pulse of young people. And we're also going to enhance the structure of the Youth Development Commission to enhance the coordination by the Chief Secretary for Administration, not to mention the new post of Youth Commissioner. So in terms of the government's attitude and the policy initiatives, we now see a change. In other words, instead of fragmented policies, we are going to uphold these initiatives in a continuous manner. As I said before the pandemic, some 70,000 young people took part in our activities. In the past, however, we did not coordinate and consolidate information. Now we make a sustained effort in the long term. Would you like to supplement? And the Secretary. Well, let me echo what's been said by the Secretary. And let me also stress that this blueprint is published by the government. Our objective is to foster collaboration among the community, the business, and the government so that we all chip in to show care and concern for our young people. In the long term, we can place our focus of development on young people in Hong Kong, and that young people will also be concerned about their future development so that synergy can be created to make our youth work more effective in the long run. I'm from Sing Tao. Good afternoon. Secretary mentioned over 160 initiatives. How many of them are short-term, how many medium and long-term, etc.? Next question. The policy initiatives are to be taken forward by different policy bureaus. How to ensure smooth collaboration and coordination? We have short-term, medium, and long-term initiatives. You will find them in Annex 2, which sets out in detail the timetable for implementation of initiatives. That's in Annex 1 as well as Annex 2. How do we ensure implementation of policies and initiatives? In fact, we have been asked the same question over and over in the consultation sessions and also in electrical by members as well. We have over 160 initiatives. How do we ensure targets can be met? And that is how we are going to set up this post of Youth Commissioner. This commissioner will oversee the initiatives in the blueprint and their implementation. He is tasked with coordination. There will also be interdepartmental cross-bureau meetings for the purpose of coordinating policy implementation. Yes, on cross-bureau implementation, we work at different levels. The Youth Development Commission, chaired by the Chief Secretary for Administration, is at the top level, and bureau chiefs are also members of the YDC. So in terms of steering policies, Chief Secretary will provide steering. At the implementation level, as the Secretary said, working groups will be set up so as to follow up on the implementation of different initiatives that come under different policy bureaus. In other words, each working group will oversee its portfolio and take follow-up action to ensure that initiatives are properly implemented and KPIs are met. The speaker is not coming through. I'm from cable TV. Now, about Youth Network in 2021, 2.15 million young people were recorded in our population. So how many participants should there be to make this youth network representative? What is the estimated number to make it an effective communication channel? Next, there are 160 plus initiatives in this blueprint. Can you also announce an indicator setting out the target number of initiatives to be implemented? And about young people taking part in the 2019 anti-extradition movement, is it possible for these young people to join the committees under the Member Self-Recommendation Scheme for Youth? Will you set conditions? I mean, for young people from this background, will it be possible for them to join the committees and maintain communication with the government? Well, let me supplement the point on Youth Network. Before the pandemic, we had some 70,000 young people taking part in various exchange programs and youth-related activities. But we did not follow up on these participants. Now we believe that these are people of caliber and we should get them together. And that's a background of establishing the youth network. And let me also offer my personal experience. When I was young, I took part in a writing competition at the district level and I became a youth ambassador. At the time, the district office gathered all the youth ambassadors and took us on different visits and to different places. So the several years following that writing competition, I broadened my horizons as a result. And after taking part in the spate of activities, in fact, after I graduated, I fortunately became a district councillor. I believe that opportunities were available to young people back then, and we should give young people similar opportunities today. We don't want to stop at just organizing activities for our young people. We want to get them together. That is why we established the Youth Network, and we will continue to provide training and internship opportunities to them. In fact, we discussed with the business sector. Some Chinese enterprises have agreed to provide internship opportunities for members of the Youth Network in the future. We want to give young people more opportunities. We want to groom them. In the long term, we want to build a youth talent pool for Hong Kong. So we must not only have eyes on the number of participants of the youth network engaging, whether this network is successful or not. Instead, we should consider the function of this youth network, and that is, in the long run, it should be able to provide a source for grooming talents in Hong Kong. And this will be a departure from the fragmented, discontinued approach on youth development in the past. We take a comprehensive and consistent approach now. And as I said repeatedly just now, we emphasize inclusiveness and fairness in this blueprint. In fact, just before I arrived here, my former colleague showed me an article. In fact, last year, when running for an election at a platform, I announced my manifesto. I said that every everyone participating in politics should formulate the blueprint. And back then, I didn't know I would be working on this blueprint. And I emphasized at the time that this blueprint should be fair, inclusive, and should be a blueprint for everyone in Hong Kong. And likewise, for this blueprint, I want to give a level playing field for all young people to participate in our initiatives. So whether an initiative is a success or a failure isn't our concern. Whether, regardless of your background, your ethnicity, the language you speak, you should be given equal opportunities to take part in our schemes. You should have the government support regardless. But of course, we'd like to meet all the targets. I don't think the chief executive will let me off lightly if I say I don't want to go for full marks.
RTHK. In the past 20 years, the average salary for Hong Kong university graduate has not increased. For tertiary students, their salary may actually go down. Is this because of inflation? If there are an additional 2,000 places for self-financing tertiary education, will the situation worsen? What you've just said is a structural economic question. It is not just about young people. Because I used to be in the trade union, it is about the increase in income. We have to encourage our young people to participate in multiple pathways, including vocational and professional training. This can allow them to seek opportunities elsewhere. In our consultation process, many stakeholders in youth development have told us that we could go deeper and broader in promoting vocational and professional training. And with the economic situation improving in Hong Kong, we hope that we will be able to resolve this situation. We hope young people can pursue multiple pathways at the same time. Thank you.